Okay, we're back. Let's crank this out, right? Let's see if we can get this finished. Um, the inside rotor housing would probably be the easier one to do. Let me just do with the rotor right now, because like the rotor really, I don't know. I think the rotor kind of, like symbolizes the rotary engine. Like if I showed somebody like a drawing of the peanut shape, they'd be there like, "Oh, you drew a peanut." But I think if I showed someone, this internal tooth triangle with the bowed out edges, like anyone who's been doing, or anybody knows anything about cars, even like on a hobbyist level, will know that it's like, oh, that's a rotor. It's a rotor for a rotary, or it's a rotary piston. So I really think that the rotor thing here is what, I don't know. I don't want to say it's like a hallmark or a trademark of it, but I think this is like the most instantly recognizable part of the engine. So we'll go and we'll just build this thing here. Yeah, we'll build the rotor first, and I'll do the rotor housing later. So if we right now have the whole thing aligned to the top view, so we're going to be building this thing up vertically. If I go into front view, let's bring this up, and there is going to be one issue in that I don't the teeth have to be okay. I kind of really want the center of the rotor to be the origin point. So to do that, to cheat that quickly, let me turn snapping on. Snap to grid. Shut the reference gears off. Okay. We'll go into, we'll add a modifier. We're going to add the mirror modifier. We're going to mirror it on the Z. Clipping on. There we go. Oh, yes. Duh. I don't have anything to mirror yet. There we go. Put into smooth and go into subdivision surface. Because I already started off with a fair amount of geometry, I don't have to go with too many subdivisions. We'll just stick to one subdivision right now. And I do want to have the vertex thing active, that way, I don't know, bring you down. Things aren't clipping the way that they should though, and the question becomes why. Because these should, in theory, why is that? Like, right, remove doubles. 6 vertices removed. That would be the 6th vertex right there. Okay. Somehow I must have undone the remove double things that made our triangles perimeter one solid shape. So we'll go back again to subdivision surface, back on, keep it at 1, and the mirror modifier that we want, mirror it on the Z, not the X, keep clipping on. And this way we can model out the one face of the rotor and have the other face of the rotor update, because it has to be more or less perfectly symmetrical, with the exception of one side that gets the teeth, and the other side is just going to get a plain cylinder into which our offset rotor crank goes into. So, working from the center, the 3D cursor will extrude to the center. Since we're working from the top view, if we hit Shift Z, we'll lock our scaling so that the top is still flat. So without that Shift Z, when we scale, you see it scales inward. So scale Shift Z. We need to keep that still within the teeth. Like, I'm debating whether or not I'm just making the teeth a little too big. If I could get it smaller, probably could make it smaller, but if I 3D print this thing, I want to 3D print it. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going at the scale that we are now, and I'll worry about doing that later. I might actually make a separate version of this for 3D printing versus the version that we have for animation. So, a couple things that we need in the anatomy of the rotor. There is the channels at the corners for your apex seals, but there's also a channel that's necessary for the there's a side seal that needs to be put on the rotor. The thing right now that I'll do is, because we do want a crisp edge here, but at the same time we want a little bit of a bevel. We don't want it 100%. We don't want it sharp 100%. So with the grid snapping still on, or incremental snapping still on, kind of want to, what happened there? Oh, because it snapped the grid, so it's wobbling all that stuff off. No. No. Something happened there that I don't want to have happen, because now this is all off. The question becomes who's off. If it's the who's off is this. This is what's off. Let's see if I can try to redo. Nope, can't get that back. All right. Remove doubles. We're going to delete this entirely. Okay. Good, that's still good. We'll keep the vertex snapping on, but we have to shut the. We're gonna have to shut the grid snapping off. Okay. Let's get back to where we were. Shift Z because we don't want it to... Okay. I could use the bevel tool. I like doing this manually, simply because it gives us more control. Instead of just scaling or moving this, we're going to do an edge slide and try to get it to one blender unit. Okay, and then go top view again, and he's off by that little bit, but I think so that should make that fairly equidistant, and we'll dissolve that edge. So that will give us a nice bevel. Might be a little too much of a bevel. Hold on. We can fix that by just adding more geometry, which we'll need to put in anyway because we're going to have to carve out space for the combustion. So we'll put, we'll subdivide that a couple of times there, and so I want to put in the top channel for that top seal before we go in and carve out the corners for the apex seals. So let's say we put in, let's say we'll put that in 3/4 of the way in between here. So if one loop cut puts it in the middle, or middle in reference to the bevel that we've created. So this loop cut's going to put us right there at the quarter mark, and we'll put a loop cut here and another loop cut here, and now we'll just select these two edge loops, and will that be like a really big, that might be a really big seal. So alright, we'll just go with one. So I don't want to have too much geometry here to mess with, so we'll just dissolve that edge. Keep these two edges because we're going to use that to create the indentation for our gasket or our seal. And we'll make that another one blender unit deep. It's crazy doing this without music. I'm gonna tell you folks, it's like kind of torturous. I really love music, but if I have music playing in the background, YouTube kind of freaks out, which I think is really funny. It's like, YouTube's flagging my videos, says that you have some copyrighted content, and I was like, yeah, I know, you supplied it. Alright. That looks pretty nice. There's a very nice groove there. But similarly, how we have to have a line here buffering that taper so that it stays flat. I'm going to have to put another one here. And that keeps that edge nice and crisp. Should I do the bevel? No, because it's going to be small enough that it's not gonna. It's small enough that I don't think we're going to benefit from it, from putting in a bevel there. So, I mean, do we bring to center and create our? Do we bring to center and create the center chamber, or do I put the apex seals, or do I put the slots for the apex seals in first? That's the question. I don't think it's. Yeah, I don't think the order in which I do that's really going to have that much of an impact on things. I got about 45 minutes left before I have to sign off. So, all right, let me do that. Let me put in the center channel that the shaft is going to go through. The teeth, I'll do the teeth when I come back. If we do Control-Shift-S, or Control-S, sorry, scales it to a circle. Scale that in on the Z, so we get to the more or less the inside of the teeth. But I mean, it's not a perfect circle, so we're still going to have to do some tweaking. And well, that's an interesting. That's a nice shape, actually. I kind of like that shape. Useless for what we need, but otherwise a pleasant curve. Let me scale Z0 to flatten that out, and scale Z0. Could be because of the 3D cursor, so let's go with median point, scale Z0. Cool. And I need that flush with the top, so I think will be a good. That we'll use that as the active element. So, dirty trick here, active element, right? So these are the things that we need to have flush with the top. We know that this vertex here is already flush with the top. So if we scale on the Z, a 0 scale on the Z makes all these flush with that point there. Now, if we go in and we look up top, we're going to see that this is 40. That's really 49 vertices? I'm surprised that we have an odd number. Oh, yeah, it's 49 vertices because of him. 48 vertices, there we go. Circle, we're going to make a circle with 48 vertices. And this is going to be the center shaft and cursor, 3D cursor, because our 3D cursor is set to the center point of the triangle, or set to the center point of our cam lobe, our rotor cam. And this has to be, or should be, as close to flush with the inside of the teeth as possible. And I think that's pretty good. And oh, you did it in the center, and I've got clipping on. I do have clipping on, so that's going to. I'm going to have to shut clipping off very quickly for a little bit. Go to Z for X-ray, or Z for wireframe mode, and let's just extrude that then. We're going to have to do it anyway. E, lock it to the Z. We do want to give enough space for the teeth to come in there, but at the same time, oh yeah, no, we're going to ignore the teeth for now. I'm ignoring the teeth for now because we'll do the teeth later. So we'll just bring that straight to the top. And if we go back into shaded view, select those edges, W, bridge edge loops. Cool. Debating something here. Should I put a smooth on that? No, I'm not going to put a smooth on that because I should. Yeah, that works fine. This space in here will be good for. Right, so let me just show what I'm talking about. This whole area right here is good for if you do want to cast this into some kind of metal. You have enough area here to play around with where you can just drill and core this out at the different corners. And again, it's important that we kind of do this in such a way that we want to give equal space top and bottom so that we can drill and take out some material to help balance the rotor later. But at the same time, because we have teeth on one side and not the other, right? So if we have the teeth on this side, that means that we're lacking the material that goes in between the teeth. So that this part here, right? Let's say the teeth are on the top part. That means that the bottom part's going to be heavy. So when you look at the balance of the rotor from the side, it's going to have more mass on this side that's being mirrored than the top side where we put the teeth. So you want to have space here that you can drill into to balance out the rotor, and at the same time you want space up here too, so in case you drilled out a little too much, you can come up here and drill to balance out your rotor, apex to apex, and then left side to right side. So that means that we are going to need another kind of, we're going to need another layer, another edge loop here wise to help to basically insulate areas that we know we're not going to touch, areas that we're not going to drill versus areas that we can. So if I scale this out and lock it to the Z, and I am scaling incrementally, right? Yeah, vertex. Let's shut that off for now. Scale Z. Maybe this one needs to, this one will do a edge slide. And so all right, I'm going to do a loop cut, and I'm going to snap that loop cut straight to that edge. So now, not an edge slide, but a scale with the lock Z will give me the ability to bring out that shape. So now I have a perfect circle touching the outside, or rather the inside of the teeth, the gear teeth, and another perfect circle touching the outside of the gear teeth. It's weird because we got the, it's weird because it's the, I don't know the term for the, yeah, I am not an engineer, I am an artist, so if my fumbling, and you're an engineer, if my fumbling has got you like mashing keyboard keys, leave comments in the section. Like, you know, if you know the correct terms for this, leave the comments in the section. I love learning this stuff. So, like, it will not be wasted on me, I promise. So now let's create a bit of a, yeah, we're going to create an indentation, a bit of a channel. Just because it looks nice, but also to lighten the rotor by getting rid of some geometry that we might not need. Just debating how deep I want to make this. That looks like it might be too deep, and it's definitely going to make this edge right here way too thin for the rotor teeth. So, on the other hand, I probably could do this. Let's scale that out, locked to the Z. Alright, I'm not happy with this shape here. So, fudge. This is what we'll do. I'm going to dissolve that edge and take this guy, and I'm going to make that my new leading edge. And so now that is definitely too deep. That's going to give me some problems later if I try to print this. So let's just bring that up. Okay, and we're going to clean this edge up now, much in the same way that we did the others. By giving it a bevel. And now we're going to have to clean up this part in here. Okay, the edge doesn't overhang there. It's just very sharp, very crisp. Okay. So for the most part, most of our rotor housing is done, and we're going to need to now make the cutout for the apex gear, or the apex seal. 30 minutes. The good news is I only have to do one, and then we can basically just copy everything 3 times, because if I've modeled everything correctly so far, this is symmetrical if cut from apex to center. Trying to do here is I don't want to make the apex. I don't want to make the channel for the apex too big. So now this breaks the edge loop here, which is why I wanted to have all that stuff done first before I put in the channels for the apex seals. And but I can't just have the apex seal slot in. There has to be something. Look at the size of this thing. Yeah, that's actually pretty big. So I probably could get away with trying to not have to do as much math as possible. So we'll delete. No, here we go. Save our work, and we can save incrementally both inside and outside by simply duplicating the rotor that we already have. We'll call this rotor, base rotor for now. We might change that later. We'll hide all that, and this will be our working rotor. So if we delete that edge, and let's add a little loop there just to keep that corner defined. Now we'll come here and all right, that looks good. That looks okay. I am happy with that, because now I have space for rotor. I mean, now we have space for an apex seal and space for some kind of spring mechanism that'll keep the apex seal in place. Median points, we'll move them away from each other, scale and locked to the Z. Doesn't have to be perfectly circular, but it just has to give me enough room to put some kind of spring mechanism in there. I'm just trying to think, if I 3D print this into a palm size, I might actually be able to get away with just shoving a pen spring in there. Yeah, I could probably get away with shoving a pen spring in there and make the apex seal by folding like some, I could fold like some aluminum around, like, let's say like a razor blade or something. Maybe. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, so if you 3D print this thing, if you get the dimensions right, you could probably use a razor blade as an apex seal, or something similar to that kind of design. Yeah, possibly. All right, let's keep going. Shouldn't be too pleased with myself right now. We're gonna have to bring this channel down, and let's do a couple of things. All right, we're not gonna extrude that yet, but we will extrude. Okay, I want to extrude all that downward, not this. You know, we'll extrude him too. And let's extrude all that down. Lock to the Z. I'll turn clipping back on. And let's see here. Okay, because I'm going to want not just that piece, but here as well. Alright, so everything that I've got selected on one side of this channel, I want selected on the other. And now we will now to beautify this. So to do that, I'm going to let's hide all this stuff. That way I can see this here a little better. Okay, so we're going to use that active element trick again because I need this to be flush here. This will give me a triangle, but yeah, I can live with that because it's going to be in a position where it's going to be kind of hidden. So selecting these two and that one, active element, scale Z0, we'll bring that flush with that point, and we're going to fill. And here, doing my little Sigvard, Katarina. All right. I know I put an edge cut somewhere, so let me just, I just don't know where, so let me just undo. Okay. We'll repeat that process again. I don't want to go too crazy putting in loop cuts because I want to be able to put loop cuts, and because all this down here is going to be more or less flushed, just want to get this part up here done. All this stuff should be lined up, so that means I want these edges to be continuous. Good. Alright, let's say we'll delete that delete that face. And I don't want to go too crazy, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. I don't want that. And at the same time, I do want to keep this crisp. How bad is that bevel? That bevel's not too bad. And I can clean that up. Yeah, because it's a good... So I can clean that bevel shape up pretty nicely here. Okay. I'll just put a triangle in there. So I'm going to wind up with a triangle there anyway, so I might as well just control the triangle, but I need that clean. The only way to clean that up will be to... Oh. Alright, but now that means... yeah, I think that will actually work. No, it's not working for me because... Oh, it will work when I put that edge in there, right? Yeah, that'll work. Dissolve that edge. We'll keep that like that for now. So now we gotta work with these shenanigans here. You know what? Because otherwise it's just going to have me keep going all the way down there. And I don't want to do that. So let's just scale Z0 and yes, thank you, Java. Good. Now I can work here in peace. As so again, what I'm doing here is with the selected, using the active element selection tool. If I click on the vertex on an edge that I want to make my selected edge flush to, it makes the selected point the fixed point, right? So now if I hit S for scale, and then Z to lock it in the Z position, and 0 means that it will make that entire edge loop flush with the point that I had selected. And there we go. Now that looks all weird and wonky because of the subdivision surface. So if I shut the subdivision modifier off, it goes back to normal. And now I gotta play over here on this side. Alt H unhides all that. And we'll just hide all this. Now, all the geometry that I need to link should already exist there, so it's just be a simple matter of connecting edge loops. So I don't have edge loops where I thought I should have edge loops, and I think it's because I had it hidden while I was putting those edge loops. So edge loops that I want did not show up. So Z it is, because I should have had edge loops. Yes, I should have, and I don't. Alright, we can do this. We can fix this. Alright, let me fill up the geometry. Let me fill up the less problematic geometry, like the geometry that I know I want to go a very specific way. So let me just fill that up real quick. Or rather, the geometry I don't really have to think about. And now, the reason why I didn't extrude it straight down is because I had these channels carved into it, and I wanted to maintain the integrity of those channels. Without winding up with too many internal faces or duplicated vertices, because then when you try to 3D print this, if you have non-manifold edges, you're going to wind up with a lot of problems later. happened here. If I go to face mode, delete that face. And cool. Alright, good. So I'm not in that. This will be easy. And so now it's a question of filling that gap in there. And I can hide all of this stuff. To give me a better view of what's going on in there. Alright, we'll deal with that in a second. Okay. Yes, we did have that vertex here because this was connected as such, I believe. And that was a triangle. And so now here, oh, running out of time, running out of time, running out of time. Nope, not you. I think we just bridge the edge loops there, right? And we could probably go up to this guy. Throw those in there, bridge edge loops. And so now this becomes a face. And this becomes a face. And we're done. Ish. Alright. Alt H. Make everything visible again. And just because I'm paranoid, remove doubles. We're good. We're good. So now we need to clean up this edge here, make it a little crisper, and I can do that by putting an edge loop there. Same thing here. You don't want to bring them too close to the edge because you don't want them overlapping and making them double. If they're doubled up, it won't register as a manifold edge. And cool. So there we have it. There's our little spot for an apex seal. And we do not have to do this 3 more times. Instead, we'll call this rotor A, duplicate it, rotor B, and if we go back into the edit mode, I'm going to select all this, with the exception of the gears. Okay, good. We'll hide the gears. Now select all this, because we don't need it. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Select all that we don't need. And delete. Select with the cursor to the origin point of the object itself. We'll go to 3D cursor, duplicate, and just rotate that 120 degrees. Duplicate it again, rotate 120 degrees, select all, remove doubles. It is now a manifold object. No, it's not a manifold object yet, technically, because of the mirror modifier, but I think we are done with the rotor. So let me hide all the other rotors but the one that we want. There you go, perfectly symmetrical or rotor with 3 slots for your apex seals. Smooth. Good. And there's yet one more thing that I wanted to do. Oh yes, 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 yes. Go into the edit mode and 3D printing. We're gonna go do a flight check. I'm just using the default settings, check all, and my non-manifold edges should only be, that looks a lot more than what I thought I was gonna get. My non-manifold edges should only be this and this. Alright, so if I click the select non-manifold, this should be the only, these right now should be the only ones that will be selected. Oh, duh, yes, the gears are not manifold. But as for everything within the rotor itself, those are manifold. So let's just hide the gears, do this check again. Oh, I think it will even look at the hidden ones. So if I select, yes. But okay, with the exception of the gears, everything else that we predicted was going to be non-manifold is non-manifold. So if we apply the mirror modifier, we'll make this then a manifold object. So, one more time, we'll make that rotor C. And we will apply the mirror modifier. Do check all, and that's it. Our only non-manifold edges are the gear teeth, which we will not need these down here. No, apologies. We won't need the lower gear teeth. Good. Fantastic. So when I get back, I'll show you how to add the gear teeth to the rotor itself, and that should be in about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. Okay, so I'll be back later and we'll finish the rotor off.